TCT presents Public Report, a look at the issues and events of importance to our viewing area. Now, here's your host.
Hello, welcome to Public Report. I am your host, Richard McCorkell, and I have the privilege to be with my wonderful co-host and lovely wife, Crystal.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Are you excited about today's show?
Yes, I am.
I know I am. We have a real special guest with us today. It is Rhonda Smith Hicks, and she is the Senior Event Director of Amazing Grace Event Management. But she also is the president of the Raleigh-Durham chapter for the National Association of Professional Women. And also, she has a special new venture going on called Project She. Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
You
Thank you
got
for
a
having
lot,
me.
Absolutely, it's our privilege. But you got a lot of great things happening here.
I hope so.
I don't even know
Yes.
where to begin. But let's talk about Project She.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about the concept of that.
Wow, Project She was born out of a place where I found myself as a busy mom and wife and corporate professional, entrepreneur, Sunday school teacher, president of an organization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I found myself in a place that although I was doing all of these wonderful things for my family and for my community, I lost myself. And I think that we as women, we're natural-born multitaskers. So we're always doing so many things, but often in the mix of that, we lose focus of taking care of ourselves. And so if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't replenish ourselves from the inside out, how are we going to be of benefit to others?
Wow.
And so I decided to start Project She based on my personal experience and provide a platform for women to be able to come together to reflect, refocus, and renew ourselves towards our purpose and towards our goals in life.
Wow. So I would assume a lot of mothers, obviously wives,
Yes.
even daughters, I would think, suffer from, I guess would be a generic term, would be kind of burnout.
Yes, I mean, most certainly. I don't think that this, it's discriminatory at all. I mean, I think it's just something that, you know, we as women and really just everyone in general can be subject to. But, you know, I know my experience as a woman, and so I understand the demands, and it changes every day. It looks different every day, but we definitely need to take a step back and really edify ourselves so that we can be our best selves going forward first for ourselves, then for our family, and then for our communities.
Right, right. And do you think this, if we can get a hold of, you consider it balance, I would think, because that's the first thing that kind of comes to my mind, because you said multitask.
Yes.
Well, you can't you can't have yourself going a million different
Listen,
directions.
every day looks different, right?
Yes.
So we have, you know, we try to set out and say, I'm going to accomplish, you know, these things on this particular day, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And so it is, the beauty about the project is that although I may have created it, I'm also a student of it, and so I'm continuing to learn, you know, through others and through the connections that I've made throughout the organization. The one pillar part of the organization that we really try to concentrate on is an event called the She Treat. And so it's a time where we as women are able to come together to celebrate ourselves, but again, to also focus on renewing ourselves.
Wow.
to be that better person.
Yes.
And so I'm very excited about that. This year will be the second annual She Treat. It's a retreat for women.
Yes, yes.
That's kind of how the name began, and so I'm looking forward to that experience, to bringing women together, to share like stories, and so that we can find out how we can learn from one another to be our best selves.
That's great. And you have speakers, and how's that?
Yes, so it's a day's experience, and I do choose to call it an experience as opposed to a seminar or a conference, because I do believe that it's very experiential. We build upon one another's energy, and so we will have several speakers that will be present during the day. We'll start off in the morning, late morning, and kind of get ourselves invigorated and pumped up for the day. And there will be 3 speakers and then 1 keynote speaker. The 3 speakers will focus on those cornerstones that I'd mentioned earlier to reflect. Reflect is embracing all of the past experiences that have brought us forth to this moment right now. I find that sometimes we, as women, and again, people in general, we tend to block off certain experiences because they may not have necessarily been the most positive experiences in our life, but they may have been challenging, but they also too have made us who we are. So embracing our entire experience and recognizing all of those things have brought us to being the person that we are today. That is the reflect piece. So we'll have someone to speak about that. Then refocus is really, what is your purpose? For myself, I believe that purpose can be defined in many different ways, and it's often a layered approach. It could be, what is my purpose today? What am I aiming to do today and right now? It could be, what am I focused on doing for this particular season in my life?
Yes.
What is my purpose for this season? Or it can be, in my opinion, what I believe to be a God-given purpose. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be delivering to others? And so we talk about that, and we help women to identify that purpose. And how they can move forward in that purpose. And that leads to that last cornerstone, which is to renew ourselves towards our purpose in life. And so it walks us through those steps. This year, the theme that came to me that resounds the loudest is to reclaim. So to reclaim ourselves, to reclaim our whole selves, body, spirit, soul, and to walk forward and reclaim our purpose.
So what will the day when a woman comes to She Treat on the day, what will happen?
So the day, and I really choose to call it an experience. I don't choose to refer to it as a conference or a seminar, because I want it to be an experiential situation where we as women will be able to come together to really celebrate and enjoy one another. So when our guests, our women, come into the She Treat, they will be taken through a day's experience that will include speakers that will be able to speak to each aspect of the cornerstones that the She Treat is surrounded by. And those cornerstones are to reflect, refocus, and to renew. So they'll start off with reflecting, and when I say reflecting, I mean reflecting on all past experiences, whether they be positive or challenging. I think that we sometimes compartmentalize that things that may not necessarily be super positive for us in our lives, but they also still do make us who we are, and so we need to embrace all experiences in that way. And then we'll have someone who will be speaking about refocusing. And when I think about refocusing, that to me that means purpose. What is our purpose in life? Purpose can be, what is my purpose today? What is my goal to accomplish today? Purpose can be, what is my goal to accomplish in this season of my life? And then there's a larger purpose that is given to us, I think, as to why we are here on earth. Why has God placed us here? And what is our purpose to be able to reach all people? So we walk through those things, and we help the women to identify what their purpose is and how they'll be able to walk in and through that purpose. And that leads us to that third cornerstone, which is to renew, where we're renewing ourselves towards that purpose so that we can walk in it and through it. And so the major theme for this particular year, in addition to reflect, refocus, and renew, is to reclaim. And so we as women need to take back our lives and to reclaim ourselves and our whole selves, body, soul, and spirit, and walk through and into our purpose.
That's very powerful, because I think that's very important as women, because we raise children, we have our husbands, and we work, and some women even have businesses, and we need to reclaim ourselves. And it's so important for us to take our own time out for ourselves. And you ever heard of a do nothing day? Something, those type of things. We need to take those days.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that what's important is for us to be able to recognize that it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Give ourselves permission to step away and get our nails done and get our hair done and invest in ourselves in that way. But I also think that it's equally as important, and probably more important, to invest in our inner selves. Because I find that we as women, we may do a good job of presenting ourselves on the outside. When we get our hair done, it's immediately affirming, because we look in the mirror and we say, oh my goodness, I look beautiful. But do you feel beautiful?
Right, wow.
And that's a difference, because feeling beautiful comes from the inside out.
Yes.
And so a lot of times we wear the mask of, oh, we look beautiful on the outside, but we're broken on the inside. And so the She Treat really helps us to look inward first. and to take care of our inner selves, and then we can project that outward as well.
And there must be a little feeling of guilt sometimes for women to, you know what, I'm just going to take out time for myself, kids, dad, even taking care of our parents now.
Yes, yes, we're caregivers, we're caretakers, and you know, all of those jobs that I'd mentioned earlier, we can be any combination of those things in any given day. And so I definitely, from my personal experience, I did feel guilty for a long time, especially when I became a mom. You know, I felt like my life should be dedicated towards my children. However, what we have to recognize is that we can't take care of anyone else unless we're properly taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
Because we will suffer in the long run, and those who are around us will suffer as well. You know, they always say that if mama's not happy, then the family's not happy, and that can, you know, that's very true. If you have to be able to really take care of your inner self, your outer self, and put your best foot forward, and that's really kind of what it's all about. I'm very excited about the day. It's going to be on September 30th, and we have some wonderful speakers that are going to be able to speak to those cornerstones. They're all from here in the area. A couple of them are actually.
Awesome.
Monica Monica Dennis is her name, and she is the founder of Be Zenful, and she's really just all about centering and balancing, as you stated earlier, Richard. And so we're going to start off with her. She's going to be concentrating on the portion that talks about reflecting on yourself and how you're able to take time every day, even if it's 5 minutes, just for yourself. Take that time for that specific day and do something for self. And then we'll have Karen Shane. She is the founder of the WSA, the Women Survivors Alliance. She's coming to us from Tennessee, and she is going to be talking about purpose. She is truly walking in her purpose, and I want the ladies to come so they'll be able to understand her testimony and why how she found her purpose and how she's walking through that in the WSA. And then we are going to have Michelle Degree to come to speak to us about getting our house in order, getting all of everything that is in our lives aligned so that we can walk through that purpose. And so super excited about those speakers. And then we have our keynote speaker, who I'm happy to announce is going to be Egypt Sherrod. She is on HGTV currently. She has a show called Flipping Virgins, and so she's going to be coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia, and she's going to be speaking to us about reclaiming ourselves. So I'm very excited about the lineup. Of course, it's all women's because we're speaking to women. So it's a women-supported event. It's a women's event from beginning to end, and I look forward to having everyone to come to share in the experience.
Absolutely. And mentioning experience, there had to be a story or some sort of catalyst to have this come about. Can you share that with us?
Sure. So I'd mentioned being a busy mom and wife and all of those things that come with that, right? So a couple of years ago, I did come up with the concept of Project She because I was experiencing all of these things, and that name came to me, and it always resounded with me. And so I started doing some research. I started interviewing women, and I sent out surveys to see if women's stories were the same as mine. Were they experiencing some of the same things as me? And I found that they were. So I was very excited about lifting off the project and getting things going and initiating the first She Treat. And then I had to take a step back because I started having some physical challenges. A few years prior to, I was diagnosed with acid reflux. Was not happening so frequently. I went to the doctor, and they prescribed me some medication, and I'm not one that likes to take medication regularly. So since the episodes were not happening very frequently, I didn't take the medicines. But over time, they did start to increase, and they became more and more violent. And so one evening, I had a very terrible bout with acid reflux, and it was an all-night thing. And I talked to my mom and my husband the next day, and they said, well, you need to go back to the doctor. Something else is going on. So we went to the ER and spoke with the doctor there, and the doctor said, well, have you ever had an endoscopy? Have you ever had some of these other tests done? And I said, I hadn't at the time. And so he referred me to get some additional tests done. Went that next week, got the tests done. They said that they didn't see anything from the tests. However, the doctor mentioned that for whatever reason, he had gone a little bit further than they normally would in the test. And that's a very important point, and I'll come back to that in a few moments. But went a little bit further, and he saw something he didn't like. So he said he was going to send it off for testing. So me and my husband said, great. We thought that that was a good precautionary measure to take. In the meantime, I went to go get some other tests done, and came back that following Friday. I came back by myself. It was just a regular follow-up appointment and didn't really expect anything. And stepped in the room, and the doctor just definitely seemed a little disheveled. And he said, I have cancer. And I just sat there for a moment. And it's taking me back to that moment because it was actually 3 years ago, almost to the day, that I was diagnosed.
Wow.
And I sat there, and he said, you have lymphoma. And the way that he said it, he couldn't even really get it out. I really didn't understand what he was saying. But then I said, you have to show it to me on paper. So he said, you have follicular lymphoma. And so the first thing that I thought of was the fact that my father had been diagnosed with lymphoma. He beat it twice, but the lymphoma eventually developed into leukemia, and he passed of leukemia in 2009. So my first initial thought was that I'm going to die of this.
Yeah.
And you can imagine you're sitting there by yourself, and I didn't have anyone there to be with me, to help me to take in this news. And so I was shocked. My life flashed before me. I have 2 children, I have a husband, I have a life, all of these things. What am I going to do? And so it was devastating. And so the doctor, noticing my anxiety and noticed that I was, clearly very upset, he asked if I wanted to be referred to an oncologist. And he asked me who, and of course I said, I have no idea. I don't know.
Yes.
So he provided me with some referrals and called a doctor, and that doctor was able to see me immediately.
Okay.
And so as I was leaving, I saw someone that I hadn't seen in 20 years. And what I remember of Karen is that she was a saved woman of God.
Yes.
We went to college together, and we always used to have fun together and enjoyed one another's company while we were in college. But I saw her for the first time in 20 years. Hadn't seen her since college. And she came up to me, she said, Rhonda Smith, how are you? And I said, I'm not doing well, but please pray for me. And she grabbed my hand at that moment, and she said, do you want to pray right now? And I said yes. And so she said the prayer for me that I needed to hear in the absence of my husband, in the absence of my mother, or in the absence of someone who may have been there to comfort me.
Yes.
In that moment, God was speaking through Karen and telling me that even in the time when I received the worst news of my life, that he was still present.
Yes.
And that was a very powerful moment for me. And
Yes.
so I, moved on, and I went to see my doctor, and I'm happy to say today that I am cancer-free.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
that I am still blessed to be here.
Yes.
But,
Amen.
after going through that, I did have to revisit Project She, because I do believe that, unfortunately, cancer and other diseases and health challenges and so many other things that we go through, it's part of our life. And so that's part of my reflection. And so I had to bring it back around and come full circle.
Yes.
And now I'm here before you today, cancer-free,
Yes.
and hoping to spread the message that, although we may be busy and although we may have so many various things that we are doing every day for our families, for work,
Yes.
for the organizations that we're associated with, et cetera, we can still come back, and it's okay for us to invest in ourselves.
Wow.
Wow, I love it. What an amazing story.
Yes.
God is good. He's just so
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
And I like when you said he's a present. I
Yes.
heard in my own self a present help
Yes.
in
Yes.
time of need, and that's what
Yes.
the word says. And it's amazing that he had a friend of yours that you hadn't seen in so long to come.
Amazing.
God is.
She was there for a reason.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this. She mentioned to me, she said, I wasn't supposed to be here today. It was her husband that had the appointment. She said, I wasn't supposed to be here today. My appointment was a month ago.
Wow.
So she said, so that I was here today to see you and to speak with you. That was powerful. I still get chills today
Yes.
because I know that everything happens for a reason, and that was the reason why she was present there. She was there for me that day.
Wow.
Wow, this is great.
Yes.
And God's timing is amazing. He will give you the
Always.
resources that you couldn't even imagine or even try to make happen
No,
yourself.
I couldn't. I can't make that. You can't make that up. You
Yeah.
can't make that up. It happened, and he, in that moment, told me that he was going to be there and to bring me through, and he has.
Wow. Congratulations
Thank
and
you.
praise God, right?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Every
That's
day.
awesome.
Every day.
Wow.
Every day. Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about Amazing Grace event management. What's that?
Yes.
Now that sounds multitask.
Yes, it is. So Amazing Grace Event Management. First, the name itself resounds with me personally and professionally. I wanted a name for the business that would be able to connect with others, but it also has a personal meaning for me in that, God clearly is amazing. But the word grace, I literally had an epiphany moment where I
Yes.
realized that my first and middle name, my husband's first and middle name, and my two children's first and middle name all spelled the word grace. And so what else is that but amazing?
Wow.
And
Yeah,
so
that
my
is.
background being in management, that's kind of how the name all came about. And again, it connects with people on a certain level. And so
Yes.
that's where the name of the company came from. But it's an event management company. I started it back in 2009.
Okay.
And I have done everything from birthdays to other social events to corporate and
Weddings.
small business events to large trade shows. It's
Wow.
provided me the opportunity. My first client was a 5-year-old birthday party.
Okay.
It was a 5-year-old princess party, and she
All right.
was a princess. And
Okay.
so
All right.
I've done everything from that to having the opportunity to travel all around
Yes.
the country to Chicago and Orlando and San Francisco and internationally to Paris and some other places to do other large trade shows and things like that from that perspective. And so it's really kind of spanned the gamut.
Yes.
I am currently in the process of transitioning to more of a corporate and nonprofit and small business transformation to production. And so that is the new direction of Amazing Grace Event Management, and I look forward to that new chapter with the business as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, what is the National Association for Professional Women too? As a man, I got to know.
Yes, of course, of course. You can come to the meetings if you'd like
Okay.
to, but it is an organization specifically for women. There are over 800,000 women that belong to the association nationwide. The president is Star Jones, and so I've had the
okay.
privilege to meet with her on several occasions.
Sure.
But it really is an opportunity for women to connect and to network and to inspire one another and to aspire to greater heights from a professional perspective. And so the Raleigh-Durham chapter has several hundred members that are part of the chapter, and we do meet monthly to connect and to network, to promote one another's businesses, to learn about things from a professional perspective, from a corporate perspective, from an entrepreneurial perspective. So we try to have various topics throughout the year that we're able to address certain things that we as women face, both professionally and personally. We also try to have a little fun. Have a little bit of fun. So
Absolutely.
we're going to be going on a sip and shop in a couple of months.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
we're able to combine some of those things. We
Yes.
also look to give back to our community as well, and so we support the organization One of Us, which is an organization again that does support women.
I see.
And women's cancers, all women's cancers. And so the women that they support are in need of transportation potentially back and forth to treatment, or their children may be in need of babysitting services while they're
Sure.
going to
Oh my
treatment,
That is
things like
wonderful.
that,
Yes.
or food or supplies or anything of those along those lines. So we're happy that our community partner this year is One of Us. And
Awesome.
so, yes, it's a wonderful organization. I've been president for almost 2 years, and I've definitely enjoyed and benefited from the experience.
That is awesome. And you, by trade, you do IT. Talk
I
about that a little bit.
do. So my day job, I am an account manager with a company called NetApp here in the area, and so I have been in the IT and telecommunications field for probably 20 years now, and so
Wow.
that's what I do during the day, and then I find somehow some time to do all of these other wonderful projects that I'm privileged to be part of.
Yeah,
Wow.
so you got your hands in a lot of things, and
Yes.
you didn't let this, if I may call it an adversity of health,
Yes.
I'm sure it changed your mind frame of the world and family and life and all that.
Absolutely, every day, every day. And you know, yesterday again was a pivotal day for me in that it was the day 3 years ago that I was diagnosed. But every day, I choose to look at things differently, and it is a choice.
Yes.
Not every day was it easy. Not every day is going to be perfect, but every day I am blessed.
Yes,
just
yes.
because I am still here. I know that there are so many other women and men and children who are not able to sit here and tell my story. And for a long time, Richard, I didn't tell my story. I kept it quiet the entire time that I was going throughout treatment. We didn't even share it with our children because I didn't want people to think that it was a crutch or that I was using it to, that I was going through something. But now I realize, and one of my mentors, and several people have told me, but one of my mentors, Terry Spicer, she told me, you have a story to tell.
Yes, yes.
And she provided me with my first platform through her organization, which is called the Sisters Inspiring Sisters Incorporated organization. She provided a platform for me to tell that story. And so ever since then, I've been sharing that story, and I hope to be able to continue to do so through my personal testimony, through Project She. I honestly believe that Project She, I'm bold enough to believe that it can be an international movement. I think that
I feel that. I
yes,
feel that.
I mean,
very much.
I think that a woman that is here in Raleigh, North Carolina, may experience the same thing that a woman in London, England may experience.
Absolutely.
May experience the same thing that someone in Sao Paulo, Brazil may be experiencing, et cetera, et cetera. It's a universal thing, and so the idea is to bring this experience to anyone who is willing to receive it.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. It was
Yes.
awesome. You have a great
This was
story.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you so much. We encourage you to check out the National Association's Professional Women, is also the She Treat. If you feel that you need to not do guilt-free, just come and get refreshed,
Yes.
renewed, and just encourage you to check out all that. Appreciate you watching Public Report. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
This has been Public Report. Public Report discusses the issues of interest and importance to our viewing area. Please remember that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of TCT or the station.
Hello, I'm Bishop Charles Johnson of the World Church. The Bible says, with God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. I want to encourage you today, and I don't know what situations you're facing right now, but I want you to know, whatever you're looking for God to do for you, it is absolutely, positively possible. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to really ignore your current situation. I know you're saying, Bishop Johnson, how can I do that? But I'm asking you to ignore your current situation and know that with God, all things are possible. It's going to work out in your favor. Things are going to come together. You're going to get the job. Your child is coming home. Your body is going to be healed. With God, all things. So I encourage you, stay with Him. He's going to stay with you. And know that with God, all things are possible. God bless you.